My name is Sam Walters. I'm 16 years old. I'm the type of kid that jerks love to pick on. The person who tortures me the most is this guy named Chad. He and his lackeys have been bullying me since we were in preschool. By now, I've gotten used to it. My birthday is January 7th, and that happens to be today. My morning was the same as every morning. I woke up at 6 and ate some toast for breakfast. My parents had already left for work. I left my house on my bike. I got to school at 6:30. I went to class 10 minutes later. The usual classes: math, history, and science. Everything was going normal until free period. Everybody just wanders around the place and does nothing. I spend that period usually running and hiding from Chad and his buddies. But today was different. I wasn't thinking about running or hiding. I was thinking about my sister. I missed her every second I'm not with her. Her name is Delilah. They snuck up behind me. Chad pushed me to the ground and kicked me in the stomach. I got up off the ground, spitting blood out of my mouth and onto the pavement. I had enough of them. I looked at Chad and said, "Get a life!" And as hard as I could, I punched him in the face. He grabbed his nose. Blood gushed out of it. "Oh, you're so dead," he said, making an arm movement in the air. His followers surrounded me. They grabbed my arms and put them behind my back. Chad released his grip on his bloody nose and looked at me. There was blood dripping from his hand. He shook it off violently. He smiled. He grabbed a stone from the pathway and got ready to throw it. "Good night, Sam!" he screamed and threw the rock at me. I closed my eyes, waiting for impact, but it never did. I opened my eyes. The rock in Chad's hand was 2 inches from my face. Somehow, time had stopped completely. I started floating upwards out of the hands of my enemies. I look up. There, floating silently in the sky, was a huge ship shaped like a disc. I look down at Chad and his followers. A laser beam shoots out of the craft at them. The laser beam hits Chad and he blows up. His body parts went flying everywhere. I look back up. I'm getting closer to the spaceship where a beam of pure light was shooting out. All the energy that was radiating off the spaceship is so overwhelming that I pass out. When I wake up, I'm in a cabin in the wilderness. What just happened? I said to myself. I looked around the cabin. There was a note attached to the wooden bed I was on. I picked it up and looked at it. It read,
Dear Sam Walters, I'm sorry we had to take you to this cabin, but you acted violently to a rich person, of all people. Please don't throw a fit or anything, but there is someone there with you, a person you may know. There also is something evil amongst you. To leave, you must do a couple of simple, let's call them tasks. Good luck, and don't die along the way. Signing off, Cusco Dano.
Suddenly, there was a loud bang, then a yell. I stood still. The sound had come from what I suppose was the room next to me. I heard a door creaking open. I heard footsteps from behind the closed door that was in front of me. The door opened. There, barely able to fit through it, stood Newton Schwartz, the biggest, and I mean biggest, kid at school. He was nicknamed among the students and some teachers as Newt Sweats. "Newt Sweats?" I said with surprise, looking at him. "It's Newton Swartz." "How did you get here?" "Well, I'm here because of that damn science lab," he said, throwing his hands up in the air. "How did the science lab take you here?" "Well, I was mixing different chemicals around because I was bored. Well, I poured the wrong substance in at the wrong time, because that was right when Vice Principal Cranium walked by. The chemicals combined and exploded all over him. The acid burned his face down to the bone, and I passed out. Then, when I woke up, I slammed my head against the bedpost of this place," he said, looking around the cabin. "Well, anyways, I got a note from this guy called Cusco de No," I said, showing Newton the note. "I got one of those too. This is what it says."
Dear Newton, you will have to survive in this forest to get out. Good luck. Also, you should wake up the other person in the room next to you. Then go outside the cabin for further instructions. Cusco de No.
"Well, we should probably go outside then." "Yeah, good idea." We walked out of the cabin. The sound of birds chirping greeted us. The forest stretched far beyond my line of sight. "Wow, we are literally in the middle of nowhere." Yeah, no kidding. I looked at the ground. That's when I noticed a note before my feet. I picked it up. What's that? Another note. What's it say? I began to read.
Dear Newton and Sam, for your first task, I would like you to shoot a deer with a crossbow and put it on the roof before 5 p.m.
How the hell are we going to get a crossbow? The page started to shake. I looked at the page and noticed the words had changed. Hey, there are new instructions on the page. I began to read.
The crossbow is located in the mountain along with a map to guide you on your way to the wetlands. That is where the deer feed and live. From Cusco de No.
Well, that doesn't seem hard at all. Right then and there, I decided that I didn't want to work with that disgusting kid. So I thought up of a clever plan. Hey, Newt, before we go exploring, could you go back in the cabin and see if there's any food for the trip? Sir, I'll be right back. I was getting kind of hungry, anyways. Yeah, sure, I said under my breath. Newt turned around and went back into the cabin. I waited a little bit, and when I was absolutely sure he wasn't going to turn around, I started to run. I felt a vibration coming from my hand where the note was. It had turned into a map. So I followed it. Before I knew it, I almost ran smack into a huge mossy mountain. I looked up. The mountain was surrounded by thick fog. I looked back down and started to walk around it. I didn't realize that the mountain was hanging off the side of a massive cliff that led to a speeding river with jagged rocks sticking up everywhere below. That's when I noticed what appeared to be a hole in the mountain. I looked inside. Darkness greeted me. I walked in. As soon as both of my feet were inside, the hole slammed closed. Light filled the room. Then the sound of a lawnmower coming to life. Not just one, but 100 of them. You can run, but you can't hide. Hold on. You can't run either or hide because there are lawnmowers all around you. A voice said behind me. I turned around. A man emerged from the shadows. He had weed whackers for arms and a hat that was made out of black widows. He had a curly orange mustache and dark green eyes. Hello, hello, hello. So nice to meet you. You can call me Dr. Gardener. And what's your name, boy? He said with a smile, revealing a set of yellow teeth. There were pieces of grass between them. My name is Sam. Sam Walters. Well, hello there, Sam. Nice to meet you. Now you must die. Now, where did I put the button to activate death mode on the lawnmowers? Crocodile! Why here, sir, said a short, hunchback man. He pulled a square box with a button on the front of it out and handed it to Dr. Gardiner. Ah, thank you, Crocodile. Now get out before you're chopped into bits! Dr. Gardner grabbed the button and was about to press it when a person with a purple baseball bat came out of nowhere and hit him in the head. The button flew out of his hand and smashed into the ground, breaking immediately. The person was Newt. How the hell did you get here? I got a note from Cusco Dano. He told me that you snuck off and then got captured and then was up to me to save you. He gave me this bat and a map that moved by itself. Cool. Thanks for saving me. Sorry I ran off without you. No problem. Come on, let's get out of here. We walked outside of the cave. In front of us lay a golden crossbow. There was a note next to it. I picked it up and read it.
Hello, my fellow adventurers. You have completed the first mini task to get the crossbow, but I'm warning you now. Dr. Gardner is still alive. He's just knocked out at the moment. P.S. It's 4:20, so get going. You don't have much time left. Best regards, Cusco Dano.
After I finished reading it, the note turned into a new map. We followed it until we made it to the destination. So this is the wetlands? I guess so. In front of us was a huge island that was in the middle of a lake. I saw a deer walking out from the middle of the trees. It went over to the water and started to drink it slowly. I knew what I had to do. I aimed the crossbow and shot the deer. It cried and then fell to the ground. We went over to it and picked it up. For some strange reason, it was as light as a feather. We started to make our way back to the cabin. The only problem was, we didn't know where that was. Eventually, from some miracle, we found the cabin. We threw the deer up on the roof as instructions told us to, right when it turned 5 o'clock. A beam of light shot down and touched the deer. It immediately disappeared. We went inside the cabin. The smell of food welcomed us. Newt followed the smell into the kitchen. There on the table was a giant plate of meat. Next to it sat another note. I picked it up and read it.
Hello there, Sam and Newt. I took the liberty of preparing a meal for the two of you from that deer you killed. Enjoy it, and sorry for the mess. I got a little carried away with the knife. Anyways, make sure you get your rest because you always have to get your sleep to have energy every day. Good night to both of you. Cusco de no.
I looked around at the kitchen. Blood splatter covered the walls and almost every surface. Forgetting about that, we sat down and began to eat the meal. It was delicious. Who knew deer was so good? Newt said, stuffing his face with pieces of the meat. We ate it until it was all gone. Then we went to bed. When I woke the next morning, I was still full. We decided to go back to the wetlands and explore some more. When we arrived, we saw Dr. Gardiner. His weed whackers were resting against a rock. His arms were scarred and bruised. He was sitting down next to a pool of dried blood.
How could they do something like this? This is a sanctuary where all the animals and plants live in peace, and those insolent children came over and killed a deer who had just given birth. I will make them pay for their actions.
He then looked up directly at us.
How dare you show your face here? You have ruined every single place in these woods. The cabin where my brother lived and died. My home in the mountains, and now me and my brother's sanctuary that we built from the ground up together.
I didn't notice, but somehow he was in front of us.
Also, this is payback for hitting me in the head, fat boy.
He ripped off a tree branch and slammed it into Newt's face. Newt fell to the ground and didn't get up.
Don't worry, I didn't kill him. He's just knocked out. Anyways, I had to get going. Toodaloos!
With a tip of his hat and a twirl, he disappeared into a pile of grass. The next day. It was rainy and cloudy. Everything was wet, rotted, and gross. We watched the crows pull and eat the worms that were coming up from the muddy ground. But there was one worm that couldn't be eaten. That was because there was a piece of paper attached to it. I picked it up and read it.
Hello, Sam and Newt. I'm glad to see you survived. How can I put this? I'm canceling the final task. An evil entity in the shape of a purple clown has blown up your escape vehicle and is on the hunt. It's like it can sense your presence. It's very close to Dr. Gardner's location, so you have to make it there before it does and warn him. The only reason why I'm asking you is this because he's kind of my brother. So I guess this is your new task. Hurry, my friends, for there is no time to lose. Cusco de no.
I looked up from the note and yelled at Newt to get up and start running. He did. We ran to the mountain and knocked on the secret door.
Hold on, be right there. I'm putting a pie in the oven.
A few seconds later, the door slid open.
Oh, it's you. What do you want?
Who else would it be?
Cusco Dano told us to warn you about a purple clown thing that is going to kill us all. What do you mean, Cusco Dano? That's my brother. He's been dead for 7 years now.
Well, he's not dead. He's been helping us this entire time. Please, we don't have much time.
By purple clown thing, do you mean the thing I'm seeing running towards us right now?
Yes, let us in and shut the door, please.
He pulled us inside, slamming the door behind him. The clown started to bang at it.
Quickly go to the door to the left of the charging lawnmowers. Inside there is a button. Press it.
We followed his instructions. When I pressed the button, the back wall opened up. There was a landing pad and a spacecraft hovering above it. Far below was the rushing waters. We ran to the spacecraft. Dr. Gardner was right behind us. He took off and pressed a button. Immediately, the spaceship shot a set of stairs that led up. Whoa, you have a spaceship?
It was my brother who built it.
At that moment, the clown kicked in the door. It went flying right through the other wall. Dr. Gardner threw us into the cockpit and tapped a button on the control panel.
I'm sending you to a school where I used to go. You will be safe there.
Aren't you coming with us?
No, I am not. I have to do something right for once in my life.
The spaceship's glass top closed and we went up into the air and started to fly off. Dr. Gardner turned on his weed whackers and swung at the clown. He slashed the clown's face, making it bleed purple blood. The clown's left hand turned into a purple dagger and stabbed Dr. Gardner. He went limp. He dropped the weed whackers. The clown took his hand out the lifeless body and tossed it off the cliff into the raging waters below. The clown looked at us. His arm turned into a rusted purple chain that shot at the spaceship. A suction cup stuck to the top of it. He jumped off the edge and he was pulled up to us. His other hand turned into a saw. He began to cut through the spaceship's top. After about 5 seconds, the top flew off. Newt kicked the clown in the face. It stumbled. His razor hand shot out at Newt. It went right through his head. He pulled Newt's body out of the spaceship and flung him into the waters below. His body slammed into one of the jagged rocks, which went right through him, impaling him. The clown then focused his attention on me. I looked at him. The clown smiled and laughed. I kicked him in the crotch, which made the clown yell and fall out of the spaceship. Purple particles began to wrap around him. Then he vanished into thin air. After that, I just sat there with a mix of emotions rushing through me. By the time the spaceship landed, it was night. It landed in a field. I got out and stretched. I looked around. There was a single street light illuminating the parking lot. Then I saw the purple lighting up the playground that was a little ways away from me. I walked over quietly. In a little patch of grass, I could make out a piece of paper. I picked it up. It was from Cusco Dano.
Dear Sam, I want to start off by saying sorry for the loss of Newton. Secondly, I want you to go through the opening in the gate and go over to the beginning of the play structure. There you will find a knife. Use it to kill the clown. He is at the top of the play structure by the slides. Don't take the knife after you kill him. Leave it there. Lastly, there is a kid about your age named Chucky Shorts. He is below the slides talking to the clown. Please help him, your friend, Cusco Dano.
I crawled through the opening in the gate and over to the beginning of the play structure. I picked up the knife. That's when I saw a person come out of a hole in the ground at the bottom of the slides. That must be Chucky, I said to myself. I looked up at the slides and saw the clown lick his lips. He started to talk, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. After a minute, I snuck up behind him. I grasped the knife and then slit his throat. Blood started spraying out of his neck. I heard him drowning in his own blood. After a few seconds, he fell to the ground. In my opinion, he should have just killed you instead of talking to you for so long. He deserved it. Sadly, I am the only survivor. My name is Walters, Sam Walters. I know it's a lot to take in, Chucky, but you're safe. Now. Thank you for saving me, Sam. No problem. Let's get out of here. Okay. That was when the clown started to change. Purple particles covered the whole body. When they disappeared, all that was left was the lifeless body of a kid, almost the same age as me. Buddy?